He was called a holy man by some and a devil by others. He rose from a Siberian peasant village to the inner chambers of the most powerful royal family in Russia. He survived assassination attempts that should have killed him multiple times in one night. This is the story of Rasputin, the man who could not be killed and the secret he took to his grave. Chapter 1. The Man from Siberia. Grigori Rasputin was born in 1869 in a small village in western Siberia. He grew up in poverty, received almost no education, and had a reputation for being wild and troublesome. He drank heavily, stole from neighbours, and caused constant problems in his community. But sometime in his late 20s, something shifted. Rasputin spent time at a monastery and became deeply religious. He developed a following as a wandering holy man, travelling across Russia, performing what many claimed were miraculous healings. People who met him described being completely captivated by his dark, penetrating eyes, which seemed to hold a hypnotic power over everyone he encountered. Word of this strange mystic slowly spread through Russian society, and eventually that word reached the one place that would change everything: the Imperial Palace. Chapter 2. The royal family's desperate secret. To understand why Rasputin became so powerful, you need to understand the secret consuming the Romanov family. Tsar Nicholas II and Empress Alexandra had 4 daughters and 1 son, Alexei, the heir to the throne. But Alexei had been born with haemophilia, a condition where blood cannot clot properly. Any small cut or bruise could trigger unstoppable internal bleeding that repeatedly brought the boy to the edge of death. In the early 1900s, there was no effective treatment. Doctors were completely powerless, and for Alexandra, watching her only son suffer was unbearable. In 1905, Rasputin was brought to Alexei's bedside during one of the boy's worst episodes. After Rasputin prayed over him and spoke to him calmly, the boy's condition improved. The bleeding slowed. The crisis passed. Nobody could explain it. But from that moment, Alexandra was completely convinced Rasputin was a holy man sent by God to protect her son. And that belief gave him power over the royal family that was almost unlimited. Chapter 3. The Shadow. Over the palace. As Rasputin's influence over Alexandra grew, so did the whispers throughout Russian society. He was seen at the palace constantly. Ministers who displeased him were removed. Ministers he approved of were promoted. A Siberian peasant with no education was effectively influencing the governance of the largest empire on earth. Rumours grew darker by the month. People claimed his relationship with Alexandra was inappropriate. Others said he was a German spy weakening Russia from within during World War I. Outside the palace, he drank excessively and boasted openly about his closeness to the royal family. The Russian Orthodox Church condemned him publicly, but Alexandra refused to hear any of it. Tsar Nicholas, weak and indecisive, could not stand up to his wife. Rasputin remained untouchable. By 1916, Russia was suffering catastrophic losses in the war. The population was starving, revolution was in the air, and a group of Russian nobles had decided that Rasputin was destroying the monarchy from the inside. Something had to be done. Chapter 4. The night they tried to kill him. The conspiracy was organized by Prince Felix Yusupov, one of the wealthiest men in Russia. Alongside him were Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich, a cousin of the Tsar, and a politician named Vladimir Purishkevich. Their plan was simple: lure Rasputin to Yusupov's palace with the promise of meeting his glamorous wife, feed him poisoned food and wine, wait for him to die, dispose of the body. On the night of December 16, 1916, Rasputin arrived and was led to a basement dining room. Yusupov had prepared cakes and wine laced with cyanide, enough to kill several men. Rasputin ate the cakes, he drank the wine. He asked for more and drank that too. Nothing happened. Yusupov sat watching in disbelief as Rasputin remained completely alive. In a panic, he retrieved a revolver and shot Rasputin in the chest at close range. Rasputin collapsed. The conspirators declared him dead. Then Rasputin opened his eyes. He staggered to his feet, grabbed Yusupov by the throat, and began strangling him with terrifying strength. Yusupov broke free and ran screaming. Rasputin stumbled out into the freezing courtyard. Purishkevich chased him and shot him twice more. Rasputin fell into the snow. The conspirators wrapped his body, drove to a bridge over the frozen Neva River, and threw him through a hole in the ice. When his body was recovered days later, the autopsy shocked everyone. There was water in his lungs. Rasputin had still been alive when he hit the water. After poison, after multiple gunshots, after being thrown into a frozen river, he had finally drowned. Chapter 5. The Mystery That Never Died. The story became legendary almost immediately. The man who could not be poisoned, could not be shot, and had to be drowned to finally die. But modern historians have raised serious questions. Some believe the poison story was fabricated. Cyanide was never conclusively found in Rasputin's body during autopsy. Others believe Yusupov exaggerated everything in his memoirs to make himself seem heroic. One explosive theory suggested that a British intelligence officer named Oswald Rayner, a close friend of Yusupov stationed in Russia, was present that night and fired the fatal shot himself. British intelligence had serious reasons to want Rasputin dead. They feared his influence over Alexandra was pushing Russia toward a separate peace with Germany, which would have been catastrophic for Britain in the war. If true, it would mean Rasputin's death was not just panicked nobles acting alone. It was a foreign government assassination carried out in secret inside the Russian Empire. Chapter 6. The Legend That Lives On. More than a century later, Rasputin remains one of history's most debated figures. Was he a genuine healer? A manipulator who exploited a desperate mother's love? A victim of court politics turned into a monster by his enemies? The truth is, probably all of them at once. He was deeply flawed, vain, reckless, and drunk on his own power, but also genuinely devoted to the royal family in his own complicated way. His story cuts to the heart of a civilization in collapse, a royal family clinging to a dying empire, a sick child at the center of everything, and a strange mystic from Siberia who walked into the middle of it all and never walked back out. Russia's last royal secret was never really about Rasputin. It was about a mother's love, a child's suffering, and a dynasty so consumed by its own private tragedy that it could not see the revolution at its gates until it was already too late.